What's going on, all of our great people in all of the land? I'm your host, Nicholas Wilcox, alongside my co-host, the one and only, the main man, your cousin, Johnny May. And of course, we got our brother in the house, King George. Georgie boy. Say what's up to the great people.
What's going on, y'all?
For us.
What's going on, y'all? How y'all doing?
We feeling all right.
Feeling all right?
Yeah, we feeling all right.
Are we sure that's not actual coffee? Might be a little late for that, but we might.
I'm
need
not
it.
obliged.
He's a tea guy, man. He's
Okay.
I'm not obliged to answer that question. By the way,
You're not. I'm just putting it out there.
Nope. And we won't answer that question.
It's a liar.
Anyhow,
that's what that is. That's a little something else in the cup.
Hey, let's not assume things. All right. That being said, by the way, the fantasy football show, the NFL 25 draft class. We're talking about quarterbacks. Man. Well, without further ado, we'll jump right into it. But first, Johnny, you have an announcement for us.
Yeah, man. Well, not really an announcement per se, but just reminding everybody that's watching, if you haven't signed up for the Scott Fish Bowl, definitely sign up for the Scott Fish Bowl for sure. FantasyCares.org. They're actually running a WrestleMania. It's like some kind of WrestleMania tournament, I guess you could call it, for picking the matches. Me and my youngest daughter, actually, we just did it, and I'm totally gonna lose because she is out here picking with her heart and not her head, and I just already know that I'm already gonna lose. But what a great time! And then they had this thing the other night, man. I was watching, obviously on YouTube, and it was a WrestleMania history with what is it, Kaplooey or what is it? The little app that like you can answer questions on and shit. Kahoot, that's it. Yeah, Kahoot. Actually, man, I came in 9th out of 46, man. So that was like pretty high, man. I was pretty excited about.
We like a top 10 finish.
Yeah,
man. A top 10 finish.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead with your bad self.
Yeah, I was feeling pretty good about that, man. Feeling pretty good.
I thought you were saying Clint Capella for a second. I was like, God, maybe not after the yesterday.
Yeah.
Woo!
But no, man, like just a reminder on that right there, man. They got the live events, man, all over the place for sure. If I am fortunate enough to get in, be in Boston if I'm fortunate enough to get in. And I don't know, did you guys see what they did with like the divisions this year? How they're all like sports teams. Like they're all sports. No, dude, they're all sports teams, bro. Like they actually have a Portland Sea Dogs division. They actually have a Hartford Wells.
Really?
Yeah. So they're all sports, they're all sports teams, man. So it's pretty.
No love for the Wolfpack. I see how it is.
Oh. They got the Celtics and the Pats, but I could never bring myself to playing in the Patriot division ever. So
I don't blame you. Yeah, is right.
Yeah.
That's gross.
Yeah.
Anyhow, on to a more better note, because talking about the Patriots just makes my stomach turn.
It's a downer.
We're talking about the NFL 25 draft class for quarterbacks, going through 1 through 5 on how we're breaking them down in our rankings, and then we'll get into ideal landing spots.
Ooh.
Talk about some potential, crystal ball, best fits, potential landing spots where some of these quarterbacks are going. Are there any hidden gems in this draft class that people are overshadowing, overlooking, whatever have you? And then how many quarterbacks are going to go in the first round, which has been up in the air over the last week or so? And then who is your guy of this class? So that being said, we're going to go through 1 through 5, starting with not myself. Georgie boy.
Me. All right.
Number 5. Who you got at number 5?
Number 5. I have Tyler Shuck. as
Not even on. Here we go. It's time.
Wow.
It's
Yo.
time. Here we go.
I knew that was going to happen.
Oh man.
I knew we're going to have a player here that you didn't even have. Like, all right, like
Oh
I
man.
didn't have my top 5, but I knew you would.
So I was about to say, like the top 5 is interesting. Like, actually, I should say 4 and 5 to me where it gets interesting. I kind of think 1, 2, and 3 are kind of at this point consummate. Like, we're all kind of should be in close to agreement for 1 through 3.
Maybe
1
not.
and 2 for sure. Like, to me, 1 and 2 are just, they're there.
Right.
5, I've got Tyler Shuck coming out of Louisville. So on one hand, and this is kind of where I get caught up in it a little bit, is I understand the infatuation with the physical traits, with what he did at Louisville, which, mind you guys, my 4 and 5, they don't play at football schools. I'm not lying. Like, Louisville to me is not a football school.
No.
That's a basketball school.
The basketball school.
And funny enough, he actually played at a basketball school before that in Texas Tech. Basketball school. Don't want to hear it. Red Raiders out there, don't care. That's a basketball school. But he's got the prototypical size. I mean, we're talking about a guy who's 6'4", 6'5", plenty built. He's a good runner, got a strong arm, and like there's good tape on him. I mean, if you go back to his first season at Texas Tech, and if you look at this last season at Louisville, there's some solid tape on him. That said, I completely understand and recognize the concerns, and I don't want to discredit any of the concerns, which is why I'm going to bring them up just off rip. There are 2 major concerns that I see with him. Really, with a lot of these guys, there's a handful of major concerns. Like, I'm glad you didn't ask the question we had the last 2 weeks, like, where does this class compare to the last year's class? Because not even close.
No.
Not even close. 0% chance. No shot. We're not getting into that because no. My thing with Chuck is he's already sustained 3 season-ending injuries throughout his collegiate career. 2 of them you could kind of wrap up into one. It was the same collarbone. It was the surgically repaired collarbone that never fully healed. He broke it twice. It was out for a season or most of a season with each. The one that I can be a little bit more concerned about is the lower body, the broken leg that cost him the majority of a season. Yeah. His last season there at Texas Tech, he injured it against West Virginia. The bigger piece, and this one I more so can understand and appreciate, is the age factor. The fact that by the time he starts his rookie season in the NFL, he'll be 26 years old. He's a year younger than me. 1 year. As in, this guy who is just now coming out of college to go to the NFL is a year younger than me. I've been out of college for 5 years already. I graduated college in 2020, and this guy's just now coming out as a double super senior, pretty much. Like, I completely understand. And I think the other part of that is that I think people kind of just gloss over. It's more about people like, oh, you don't draft older guys. You don't draft older guys. Why? Because that's just not what we do. Well, there's actual reasoning to it. So I wanted to talk about it with a little bit of nuance and like not just say we don't draft him because he's old. You know, he does come with a little, like there's a little bit of roughness around the edges, but I do think that there's more than enough tool here to be polished pretty quickly because his physical traits are already developed. But you don't have that much runway. And that's where I'm going with this, is that where do we really see players hit their physical peak? Maybe not their mental peak, maybe not, what's between the ears, but their physical peak is typically between what? Would you guys agree? 26 and 30. I think that's fair. That's a fair range.
Yeah.
Normally, we go into a draft, we're drafting guys who are early 20s, and you have a couple years of, the polishing before they hit that physical peak. You don't have that runway with Shuck. But you're kind of like, you're getting him at the beginning of that physical peak, which could be a turnoff for a lot of teams. But I mean, overall, he's not this like crazy, like insanely rough, diamond in the rough type guy where you really need to sit him for multiple years before he can contribute. I mean, completion percentage only at 63%. I don't love that. But again, part of that is like, who's he throwing to? What's his line like? Because Louisville was not like this powerhouse in the ACC that we're talking about. Still threw for over almost 3,200 yards, 23 touchdowns, to only 6 interceptions. So the production was there from last season. I completely understand why he's going up some people's draft boards. He's only at 5 for me because I think that you've got some really nice high-end talent in this class, but it's not very deep. We're like, I'm sorry, I'm not putting Riley Leonard in my top 5. Like I'm not putting Quinn Ewers in my top 5. Like there are some other names in there. I watched enough Quinn Ewers good offensive system to be like, nah, that ain't my guy. I can't say that won't be someone else's, but for me, I'm like, if you're not doing it at Texas with Sark, like that's one of those places where which we'll talk about this, I'm sure, with one of our other guys, other prospects. That's one of those places where you're like, brother, you're throwing to open receivers. Like those are schemed wide open. You should be doing a heck of a lot with those things.
Yeah, boy. Wow.
Fair enough. Well, let's go ahead and get to it. Let's go ahead and get to it then. Let's go ahead and get to it. I'll tell you. Yeah, I tell you, like at 5, Quinn is he's I mean, and I was telling Nick before we got on here, I don't even love the guy. Like I don't love Chuck. Like we're all kind of like I don't love him. Like that's the thing is like
I feel like at 5 we're all like they'll be all right. Like,
yeah, right. Like, that's the thing. I think like for me, like it's more or less one of those things where obviously playing in the SEC, like to lead off with, obviously talked about the receivers that are open. So you have to get it there. He's 22 years old. So for me, it's one of those situations where competition wise, if this is what we're looking at and what we're faced with at QB5, give me the guy who's at least seeing, a competition on a week in and week out basis. And I mean, to be honest, man, 31 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. It's not the end of the world. You know what I mean? It's not the end of the world. So not crazy athletic. 4.7 gives you a little bit, which I think that's going to be one of the common themes that like I feel like we're going to be talking about is with a lot of these quarterbacks is that a lot of them now have a little bit more athleticism than, I don't want to say normal, but this is what the quarterback position is. Like you only have what you have, right? Yeah. So that's one of the things. And then obviously he has a winning pedigree, right? Like, so that's an element that you definitely need at the quarterback position for sure. So I'm not in love with this guy. For me, like I don't really start to get excited until we start to talk about quarterbacks 4 and above. But if someone was like, you have to make a pick at pick 5, this would be the guy that I would pick at pick 5 again, just because.
Yeah. Thanks, Nick.
Just because, right? Like pedigree. And then like the other part of it too, right? Depending on landing spot, like with him, right? Pocket passer, we talked about it. Like, hey, if the receivers are open, this is a guy. I don't want to say he's your guy, but he's a guy. If that. So he probably, in my opinion, ends up being maybe a serviceable backup. I don't think, he ends up being a starter. He might be a bridge guy. But yeah, I mean, that's me with Quinn Ewers. Yeah.
Okay. I got that. I'll go Will Howard. Like we were talking about.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about, I think all of our 5s are going to have no doubt questions. I think when it comes to Will Howard, what I don't have to question is that he's battle tested, ready. He's seen a lot of different things already. Coming off a national championship win. And by the way, you look at that national championship, people are saying, yeah, it's layups and stuff like that, whatever. It's a certain guys, whatever. Look at the tape and how he deceptively carves up the secondary consistently. The only thing I had a problem with Will Howard was that sometimes when the exotic blitzes, and that's why I worry about him for the NFL level, is that the exotic blitzes, he won't be able to necessarily identify that. He is 24 coming in as a rookie. However, I think the processing can improve, but I think that's something that, I think he doesn't have to be starting, obviously. He's probably going to be one of those guys that goes 3rd round, potentially 4th round, to a team that can definitely mold him up, get him ready, to have himself an opportunity. Will he be a starter overall his career? Who knows? But I do think all of the intangibles are there for him to develop even further, and for him to be a nice, solid, let's call him Andy Dalton comparison. George,
I
you
was
got
gonna
number
say,
4.
Don't
Go
worry.
ahead.
We'll be coming back to Will Howard later. I think.
All right.
because- So I for what it's worth, I based my notes off of what we did the last 2 weeks. So I've got like an underrated and overrated guy.
That's fine. Yep,
Um,
that's good.
So, but my number 4, I've got Kyle McCord at
Oh
number
my!
4.
What is to get off the
Getting good,
reservation?
man. This is getting good.
Once to get
So
off the reservation, I have my number. So I have him as my number 6. Just to give you
Okay.
some context. So
Yeah.
it's not too far off, but
no,
I can understand. You can make a case for it. Sure, go ahead.
my thing with Kyle McCord, like this past season for him, was one of the real success stories in college football, just period. Because how many times do we see these bigger programs? I mean, Kyle McCord, like before, like not this past season, but the year before, he wasn't bad at Ohio State. He wasn't like the main problem with that team not winning at all. I mean, he was a more than solid quarterback at Ohio State. And that organization and that program said, sorry, buddy, we're going to replace you with Buddy over here from Kansas State. You better go find somewhere else to play because you're going to want minutes for your senior season. I mean, we're talking about a guy who, for his first 2 seasons, stuck it out with a program. He could have transferred, in his first 2 years to go somewhere else to get more minutes. But he's like, you know what? I'm going to trust the process. I'm going to stick with it. But then at the first opportunity, Ohio State is like, bye. See ya, buddy. How many of those guys do we see go somewhere else and it just broke them? It broke them mentally. For me, one of the biggest things with McCord to me, I think McCord might have the strongest arm in this class. His arm is ridiculous.
That's one of the things I was thinking about for my dang self.
Like his arm talent is actually kind of crazy for a guy who, for all intents and purposes, went a bit under the radar in bringing Syracuse one of their better seasons in a long time. Yeah. He followed it up with a great year. He shredded the ACC this past year, which, again, not exactly the best conference by any means, but for it to happen at Syracuse, of all places, I mean, he's not mobile. By no means are we talking about a guy with mobility. So again, for a landing spot is going to be big time for him, or a place where he can kind of learn a bit, but he's tough as nails. He's really strong with the ball in his hands. Like, he doesn't just drop it. He doesn't throw it away all that much when he doesn't have to. And he had a productive season. We're talking, when I first saw this, I'm like, there's no way he did this at Syracuse of all places. 66% for over 4,700 yards.
Yeah.
I'm like, this man was just slinging it last year. I mean, for what it's worth, he, again, kind of had to. Not a whole lot going on around him, but he had to move that ball around. Again, 34 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. The interceptions, again, with that much volume, he was throwing a ton of volume as well. You're going to have some of the turnovers. And again, I didn't go through and watch every single interception, and you could say this for every single one of these quarterbacks. I didn't break them all down by, okay, this interception was from this, not one of those guys who's going by and grading. This one's on the receiver. This one's not, that type of thing. But they all have them. We're kind of just looking at a lot of this at face value. Yeah. But McCord had a really good season. To me, he has the most talented arm in itself in this year's class. But he needs to get a little bit more mobile, which that's asking a bit, but he fits the prototype. He fits the mold, fits the build. A lot of teams, I think, are going to like him, especially with showing, to me, that mental toughness that a lot of other guys haven't or wouldn't show.
Dig that.
Fair enough. Yeah. No,
all right.
Kyle McCord was someone that for sure, like, he definitely has the intangibles to, be a player at the next level, because he has a lot of those already there too. Like you said, he might have the best long ball in this class. It's just, again, the competition is kind of what hold me back just a tad.
For sure, absolutely.
That's what kind of knocked him down just a tad. But I can totally understand him being top 4 in this class pretty easily. Johnny, who's your number 4?
Give me Jalen Milroe.
I figured that.
Give me Jalen. And
that.
yeah, I mean, like, I'll talk about why.
That's your homie, right?
Not really. Not really.
Not
really.
like not
That's
like
your
Nico.
homie, right?
Not like Nico, huh?
No. Oh my God, bro.
I had to. I'm sorry.
Please don't.
It's
I'm
all
glad
we've
he
been talking
did.
about.
Oh my
We've been
God,
talking about it
bro.
all week.
Unbelievable.
Oh God, he
man.
did.
Unbelievable.
He shots fired.
Oh my God.
No.
Yeah.
It's not shots
It's
fired.
not. It's just like that's
What an
the
idiot.
it's the state of college football, man. And like it was
It
gonna
really
happen.
is,
It was
though.
gonna happen at some point in time, whether it was, you know, on the football field or on the basketball court, whatever, it was gonna happen. Like I think there's obviously some revamping to get done, but that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother time.
Yep.
But no,
Overplayed
Jalen,
his hands.
yeah, I mean he did.
Yep.
I like Jalen Milroe, man. I like this guy. Obviously from the athletic side of things, man. Going back and watching the Tennessee film, ironically enough. And one of the things I think, and this is no shock, we all know that he's got some opportunities as a passer. Realistically, you know, intermediate outside throws are something that he struggled with. Just the touch aspect of it. I'm not saying this guy's Lamar Jackson, so don't everybody get all excited. But I think like that's one of the things, right? It's like him as a passer, there was definitely some opportunities there. And like guys that play that position and have the skill set, they can develop into passers. But I do think whoever it is that drafts Jalen Milroe, you have to be all in on the type of offense and the type of skills that he had. You have to be committed to it the way that the Baltimore Ravens are committed to the system that they have with Lamar Jackson, or at least the one that they started off with for sure. I think he puts a lot of pressure on linebackers in the passing game, obviously with his mobility and his size. One of the other things I think too, just talking about is like he does a really good job in rhythm when you talk about the run pass option. That's to me, I think that's when he's at his best, is when he has like the RPO option and he can throw the ball in rhythm. And he's one of the freaky athletes, man. You know, so 4.4 40. That's a lot to handle, and that's a pretty good size dude. It's 6'2, 217 pounds, playing at a quality program like Alabama again, in the SEC, seeing a lot of pro talent. Like I like him as a long-term project. I think that there could be something there, depending on, again, the emphasis is on what team drafts him and are they committed to putting a scheme together that highlights his skill set and give him the tools around. And if not, I think we see a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL that are mobile, that don't have the passing attributes, accuracy, touch, that piece. But I think there's a lot of things that he does really well that can put pressure on put pressure on defenses. And maybe he's even a package guy, depending on where he goes. If it's a standard quarterback that's there that doesn't have a lot of mobility, and I'm just throwing shit out there, right? Like, no, like this isn't what I think, but like you think about a situation like the Rams, right? Sean McVay getting a toy like that right there to be able to use to maybe quarterback up. Just some thoughts for me with Jalen Milroe, but like I like him as a long-term project as my number 4 quarterback.
Yeah. And I'm going to agree with you. I have Milroe at number 4 as well. My thing with Milroe is that it's just, like the offense has to be a RPO situation. It has to be. Reason for that is because if it's not going to be that situation, you're not clearly getting to, this type of archetype for a quarterback, and how do you get him to the maximum level and how to use him to be not just a quarterback, but an absolute weapon. At the quarterback position, there's a difference. He doesn't have to come out and fire the ball constantly, whatever. But if you're using him as RPO, using him as a weapon type of situation, this is what needs to happen for Miller to have a phenomenal NFL career and a chance to really thrive in the NFL level. The problem is definitely, we'll talk about ideal spots, but I think that's somewhere where I'm like, well, depends on a certain team or two, like depending on what they really truly think about him and how they can really mold him. I think you're onto something. My only things about that damper Milroe for me, is small hands, in terms of, that could be if he lands in a weather type of situation, like a Cleveland or whatever. It's like, oh boy, that'd be rough. What I did like about best when I look at Milroe is that, he has a cannon of an arm, because, for real. He's one of those like Anthony Richardson's types. I hate to kind of compare them right now. But he's kind of on that cusp for me, versus like a Jalen Hurts, because everyone wants to compare him to Alabama, this, that, and the third, whatever.
Bad comp.
Crap.
That's a bad
Of
comp.
course it is, but I'm definitely not in that camp. But again, the most gifted quarterback when it comes to athleticism in this class alone, for sure. So you're getting him pretty much at a decent discount depending on where he goes. People are talking about he's still going to end up in the first round, but I have no idea if that's going to happen. But we'll have to definitely see in terms of that. But George, who is your number 3?
My number 3 this one should be no shock. My number 3 is Jackson Dart.
Here we go. Here we go.
I'm sure some of y'all thought I was going to put him up higher, but no. I think I was about to say I'm biased. I'm biased, but I'm not stupid. Oh, are we talking about Dart, or is this Dart, or is it about Milroe?
I thought you were talking about Dart.
Well, then that's just straight up wrong. I was about to say that's not biased. That's stupid. Not like me, because I'm not biased, but I might be biased, but I'm not stupid. So
here we go.
Bootleg Lamar. There we go. That's the clarification.
Okay.
The clarification that we need.
Okay.
Talk about Milroe. Okay.
Dart is like one of the biggest risers from his senior season, and I think he had an awesome season. I mean, he's strong, got a compact body. He's a good runner. Like, people are kind of sleeping on how good of a runner he actually is, both inside the tackles, outside the tackles, breaks the pocket well. For as much as people look at those, the lasting memory of what they saw at the collegiate level, he's a good decision maker. I that's wrong. That's just incorrect. But like, that's just someone doesn't watch football clearly. Does not know ball. I'm going to say it. They don't know ball.
Here we go.
That's fine. He makes good decisions. He's a good decision maker for what people say about because it's the Florida tape, which I have a point about that as well. But there are two main concerns and main cons that people are going to bring up, and they're both valid. So for one is the offense that he played in college. And you could say that about pretty much every Lane Kiffin quarterback that's come out, is the fact that Lane Kiffin's one of the best offensive minds in the college game at just saying, you know what? We'll get you guys open. Like, that's why all the receivers want to go wherever he's coaching, because it's, we'll be wide open for whatever pass is there. I mean, the amount of different ways that they were able to get the ball to a guy like Trey Harris or Jordan Watkins, and it wasn't just long balls. It was all over the field in different type of routes. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen someone be able to scheme up so many just wide open dig routes or just like little hitches. And I'm like, why is no one there? Like, okay, I'll take it, but there's no one around him. That doesn't make sense. The other one is, this is a mentality block. There is a mentality block that Jackson Dart has. And this goes back to both the Florida game and the Kentucky game. It is so ingrained in him that if he makes a mistake, especially if it's a big mistake, which if you think about it, don't happen all that often. I mean, he only had 6 interceptions all season. It's not like we're talking about a guy who's turnover prone, and he doesn't fumble either. So, but when he does make those big mistakes, they tend to snowball because he tries to get all of it back in one play. He really is that type of guy who's like, I just messed it up for the team. I have to go get all of it back right now. And that's not a mentality you can really have, especially not at the NFL level. It's going to burn you so much more than you really think it will once you get to that next level. But that's something that you can clearly, I think, teach out of a guy. Like, if he lands in a good spot with a good offensive coach or a good offensive coordinator, that's something you can pretty easily coach out of a guy, especially if you've got other veteran leadership in the locker room. That isn't always just the coach has to be doing it. It can be other guys in the room that tell him, hey man, like, settle down. We're okay. We'll make it. And again, like, the numbers all backed it up. 69% completion percentage for over 4,200 yards, 29 touchdowns to only 6 picks. That's a great ratio, especially for a guy who throws the ball as much as he does in that offense. It isn't like he's in a complete true run first offense. He threw the ball a lot too. So, I mean, he's got all the tools, but those two things are definitely, I think, going to push him down some people's boards.
Are we all in agreement for Jackson Dart 3?
Yeah, I just have to say my piece. I just have to say
of
my
course,
piece.
Yeah.
Please, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
We were getting ready to start, and I told Nick, I was like, I was watching film on Dart. I was like, and I started watching. I was like, I got about halfway through, and I was like, what am I doing? I was like, because Georgie's just gonna come on here and just
Yeah, probably.
No, my only piece that like I'll say is just like you talked about his athleticism. And I think that's one of the things that definitely is underrated about him. Again, a reoccurring theme with this class. Sneaky athlete. Seen some comps to Bo Nix, kind of like that, man. Like the comp for him, and like you're spot on. Yeah, you're spot on. Like Bo Nix, and like I'm gonna throw another one out there too of whatever, but like he gives me like Baker Mayfield vibes too, man. Like, you know what I mean? Just again, Baker is a pretty decent athlete. And systematically, like you're right, like it's all about the scheme for Dart and being in the right position. He's a guy that I do think, though, like to your point, in the right situation, I think he could be a star if you get him in the right situation and in the right with the right coaching staff and the right scheme. But I don't have anything else to add, man. I just figured you guys would all get a chuckle out of the Jackson Dart. I'm just not even gonna watch.
Yeah,
he's gonna cook.
We're good. We got this. We got that one covered.
Yeah, what I have for Dart, we're all in agreement on Dart for 3. It was close between him and Milroe because of what you look for attributes and stuff. I like Dart just a tad better coming into the process, and I'm sticking to it. The only thing I have a problem with Dart is that like we've seen it before, and it kind of snowballs in what George was talking about when it comes to his mistakes. Like he forces things a bit too much sometimes. And who else was in a way a few years back we were talking about Josh Allen in that type of fashion in a way. So he's kind of in that boat, in my opinion, as far as ceiling goes. From a floor perspective, I don't mind the Baker Mayfield comparison. I do think, though, might be somewhere where it's like, all right, Dart has some athletic ability. So he still could be one of those quarterbacks that performing RPO situations, you need probably a smidge of that, but also just using his physical tools is also where he needs to land as well. He needs a situation where, again, like the Saints don't go Shedeur Sanders. Maybe they go Dart the next round. To have that situation where it's going to be like, we may still have Derek Carr as a bridge situation, but overall having Jackson Dart there, what I'm saying, is someone that can still take over at some point. They leave the door open for that. Again, the deep ball accuracy is something that, again, that was, frowned upon. But again, I love Dart when it comes to like his, when you talk about Lane Kiffin, the actual NFL coach, what I'm saying, getting ready, Dart for the NFL. Like, I think he did a great job of still doing that. When you look at tape, when it comes to just quick releases, obviously, we talk about short and intermediate throws. I think that's still his sweet spot. So again, I think Jackson Dart just has a bit of a leverage over Milroe for drafting purposes right now, but this could definitely change if Milroe falls into the right situation, for sure. When we're talking about comparison. Johnny, who you got number 2?
Hopefully future Pittsburgh Steelers Shedeur Sanders. That's
Same here.
Are we all in agreement on that too?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I figured so.
Yeah, that was
landing spot too.
Yeah.
I'm like, I could totally see him in a Steelers jersey.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to go in because, of course, obviously, I started like falling in love. Like this was like a pipe dream for me, probably 3 to 4 weeks ago. But like, man, like watching film on Shedeur, like one of the things I think is people have talked about his arm strength. I don't think it's as weak as what people think. I think he gives you a little bit of ability in the run pass option game as well. Clean pocket, he makes plays. And one of the things I think is grossly underrated about him is his toughness. If you watch the Colorado film, man, that guy is taking some shots and he is getting back up and he is leading. And he's a guy that's elevated a program in Colorado or helped elevate a program in Colorado. That was a shitty program, bro. Like that was a shitty program.
Very shitty.
It was a dead program.
Remember where he came from too. Remember where he came from too.
And I think like one of the
Jackson State, let's go.
Yeah, and I think like one of the other parts with him too is if you get him with Arthur Smith, his intermediate game is damn good, man. Damn good. And he has a really good time versus zone. There was a pass against Kansas State, man, that he threw. It was a 45-yard throw. And it was in the bucket right there on the sideline. 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions for the season, man. Like I love everything about Shedeur Sanders. And the thing that I think people, they know it, but they hate it. They hate this about him. When you're getting coached and getting game from the greats and the legends, like, and you have the athleticism, like what, like to be envious is one thing, but like, let's be realistic. Like if you're getting, and I don't want to go too far out here, man, but if you're getting game from Tom Brady and you're getting, you know, the nuances and things like that, like you can see aspects of like where it's timing and it's, you know, hey, like I can see this zone right here. So, hey, here it goes right here. Man, I love Shedeur Sanders, and I am hoping to everything I love that I can buy me a Shedeur Sanders jersey, and he's the next quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I just don't understand the hate where it's coming from. I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't.
Like, I think Johnny talked about that, where it's like, I think it's because, you know, you're getting game for some of the best. Your father, you know what I'm saying, was an NFL legend.
It's hate born from envy. Absolutely.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah, I agree with that. I love that.
I was like, I think he's a great prospect. Like, and like, for what it's worth, do I think he's the best athlete in this class? No. Does he have the biggest arm in the class?
Have to be.
No, but he doesn't have to. It's all in here for him. It's all his IQ. He's a quick processor. He's incredibly accurate. He's not exactly right now our traditional quarterback prospect, and that's fine. Like, for what it's worth, he's a little undersized.
Yes, sir.
He's a little undersized.
But plays big.
But that's the thing. He's got to watch the tape. He is tough. The toughness is one of his biggest attributes. Because
totally,
bro, Colorado's O-line is
he gets rocked, dude. I was watching something, I'm like, Jesus, dude.
It definitely
horrible.
I mean, look, from a program and so-called have the prestige and stuff like that. Like Shedeur has everything you want in a quarterback. I think what I see when it comes to when I look at a tape and when I look at it from a QB process of, all right, you don't lead the FBS in completion rate percentage for no reason. No reason. That doesn't happen on accident. 74.2%. You don't come out and have a career touchdown interception of 107 touchdowns to 31 interceptions in your career. You don't do that alone, especially in your final season, 37 touchdowns and 10 interceptions for touchdown interception ratio. Like, that just doesn't happen on accident. Like, I do think that, the above, he's above average, comes to mobility. That's all you need the NFL at times. You just want to extend plays as a quarterback. You don't want to just have a statue quarterback per se these days. Because that, unless you have a great offensive line, like, you still even want that, escapability. And he didn't have to showcase that. I think when it comes to the Shedeur, I mean, I do see him falling at Pittsburgh if we're talking about ideal spots. But anyone will be lucky to have Shedeur that's trying to rebuild their quarterback position, because I think Sanders understands it, gets it, and he has already the molding from, his father and other greats he's had access to early on. When you look at the tape, it's something where the only thing I see that might be a struggle he'll eventually pick up on if he starts is that multiple defensive fronts. The BYU game against the Alamo Bowl, something that was definitely an eyesore, where multiple defensive fronts came at him, multiple exotic blitzes, and that kind of got to Shedeur. And partially that was because of that offensive line too, of course, because that's been a running theme. But I will say that Sanders didn't look the best in that Alamo Bowl. And in terms of, I think sometimes he gets a little too confident in terms of window throws at times. Like, he can't get away with that at the NFL level. When it comes to throwing to tight windows, he's got to just make a decision and do it, and don't delay it for another second because you think you get the ball there in time. That's something that his mentality will have to change. But those are some only things that I'll see in terms of how Sanders can definitely improve upon where he's been. And again, the touchdown interception ratio is very impressive, and the completion rate percentage is very impressive as well. So I guess we're all going to talk about Cam Ward now, huh?
Yeah.
I mean,
George, take us away.
Like, for what it's worth as well, because we're going to talk about ideal landing spots.
Sure.
Like, it's not even an ideal landing spot. It's just the landing spot. Like, you know what I mean? Like, timeout. Did you guys see the clip that was going around from him streaming like Fortnite last night of him saying, man, Treylon Burks is my guy. Man, I can't. Ridiculous. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, I'm like, all right, bro, come on. Like, hell.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And for what it's worth, a lot of these coaches that are former players that become coaches, especially at the highest level, have that same mentality.
Yes.
I mean, the other one that comes to mind for me, I know it's local, but he's a huge name. Look at Penny Hardaway.
Yes,
Look
sir.
at, like, hell, he told one of his kids, dude, you're not good enough. Go play at St. Mary's.
I seen
like,
that interview. I love that, bro. I love that, man.
He was even like, dude. So there you go, Nick. I'm glad I could give you that update. Absolutely. But Cam Ward, I mean, for me, I get it. I completely understand. He, to me, is the most balanced prospect out of this quarterback class, which, like, he does it all. He's got the big arm. He can make all the throws. He's athletic. He can work capably outside, inside, off platform. Like, there are so many different things that he does at a super, super high level. But this is something that I found interesting that we've been talking about lately, like, for me and folks that I work with. And it's kind of an interesting kind of thought experiment. How do we best analyze quarterback prospects? And what I've been hearing a lot of has been, it's the bad plays. We don't need to always just look at the good plays. What about their worst plays?
Right.
Where Shedeur Sanders doesn't have these crazy, like, horrible bad plays, but Cam Ward has some really bad plays. Like, he made some horrible mistakes against Cal. But at the same, like, and some nasty, like, red zone pick sixes that he had.
And
however,
he only played one half of football for the last game of his college
career. That's a bad look. But at the same time, we're talking about a guy who, like, if we're comparing those really bad plays, go look at his good plays.
Yeah.
He is a star. Like, he is so good at everything. For all the bad stuff that he did in that Cal game, if they had a different if this was 2 years ago and they had Tyler Van Dyke as the quarterback there in Miami, that's a fat L against Cal. That is a huge L against Cal. The only way they win that game and get back in that game is the play of Cam Ward. So it's really an interesting case, but I mean, and then just look at what he actually did. Look at the statistics. I mean, 67% completion, 4,300 yards, 39 touchdowns to only 7 interceptions. One of the best ratios in the country. I mean, his bad plays are bad, sure, but I think he more than makes up for that in what he actually does, like the good that he does on the field.
Well,
John,
I mean, that was definitely
that
was a good take. I mean, that's a good take, bro. That's definitely a good take, man.
Also, he's going to the Titans, right? Like, he's going to the Titans.
And that was like, that's one of the things, right? You know, I know that offense wanted to throw the ball initially, and Will Levis wasn't the guy. So I think that's another that's an exciting from a fantasy side of things. That's an exciting element. And then it's looking here, 8 times. Oh boy, what happened? Oh man.
No, they gotta go Cam Ward.
I mean, you gotta have a quarterback to win.
I was about to say.
I'm sorry.
Are we for real
this class
with Levis?
You got to have a quarterback. Like, they already tried that experiment and like it didn't work.
Yeah, they did.
You can't run that back. Yeah.
Went down like mayonnaise and coffee.
I see what you did there. No, like
nasty work.
Yes. 8 times though, man. 300 yards passing, and you mentioned it, man. Like, this is a guy that did. I don't want to use the same phrase about elevating a program, but like Miami would not have been nowhere near as good without Cam Ward. Like, they were one game away. They were one game away from being in the college playoffs. So like that's something I think, you have to take into consideration as well. Like, whenever you are analyzing, this guy. And in big moments, like you said, like, his big plays and his great plays were great. Like, they were great. And I think the bad plays, we kind of talked about it a little bit with Shedeur, but like, these guys are also 21, 22-year-old kids. Like, they're going to just make bad decisions. That's what rookie quarterbacks do. That's what young quarterbacks do. So I think it comes, like, it's par for the course, man. Comes along. with what it is that you get. But I think, like, you're getting a franchise caliber quarterback here. You're getting a guy that, when you look at him physically, there's a lot of guys that, bring that same type of physical presence now with the quarterback position. This is the modern day quarterback, big, strong, fast, big arm. Yeah, man, there's like there's nothing else, bro. Like there's
a few other things you left out. I'll take it on.
That's not even what I'm shaking my head at. Nick knows what I'm shaking my head at.
I know what you're shaking at. Sorry, we got to cover this up real quick. Sorry. Don't worry. We'll leave it up. Aaron, I know you're tired of B19. It's all good. It's all right. That's Aaron. Did a show earlier. Check it out. For sure. Aaron dropped a link to where other people can check that show out for sure. But I will say this about Cam Ward is that my whole thing about Cam Ward and that just it's a nitpick, but something that is something where it should be a little more controlled. He had 8 fumbles this past year, even with an improved pocket presence. So that's something that concerns me when it comes to the NFL level, because we all know a lot of defensive fronts are going to try to nip at the ball. And if you've already had that notion of not trying to hold the ball, like, especially if Cam Ward is looking downfield, he may get in a situation in Tennessee where his offensive line is looking a little shaky still. It's like, that's my overall concern, at least early on. But I will say that accuracy-wise, deep ball, like, everyone's going to have that struggle a little bit with this class. But Cam Ward, it's not like he doesn't have a good deep ball accuracy. It's just sometimes where there are certain times where you look at the tape and you're like, he missed that throw, obviously, and that can obviously be improved upon. The best things about Cam Ward is that his clutch performances, his engineering late game drives, you look at that tape and you're like, this makes a ton of sense. So yeah, again, nitpicking when it comes to his weaknesses, but everything else is there. Definitely a mobile quarterback when he needs to be, more savvier versus like actually just run first completely. But again, his processing is definitely notches by everybody else in his class when it comes to processing. And again, routinely and consistently on and off platform quarterback that can literally go through tight windows is everything you want a QB, prospect, and it's you're pretty much your number 1 QB overall draft pick.
Aaron, we still need the link. You didn't. All we saw was a couple arrows there, buddy. Do you already forget how to do that?
I love it.
Oh man, oh man, happy to hear about that, Aaron, because I didn't want to let you down the first show, because the show I did with him was the first one, and I was like, oh my gosh, he picked me. Like, all people, like, thanks for trusting me. So I'm glad
he said he posted the link. I don't know. Do you guys see the link in here, or maybe is it just on our end? Could be on our end.
It could just be on our end. We'll look for
okay.
it later, for sure.
Yeah, we'll check later.
We'll check for it later and we'll drop it. But that being said, we're moving on to the next portion, and we're talking about ideal landing spots. So in terms of top 5 players or just players in general, like, where do we see Quinn Ewers landing? Landing spot for Quinn Ewers. Wow. Hesitation.
No, because I think, like, it's what we talked about. Like, it's what we talked about. It's got to be the right situation for him, and it's got to be a situation where.
What is the right situation?
The right situation or the right situation? The right situation is, I think, like, right, you think about a couple of guys, or at least for me, I think about a couple of places that have done great work with quarterbacks. I think about what the hell is going on.
I totally did not, by the way.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Oh man! he said, get this man north of the border. North of the border.
Man.
You are a Toronto Argonaut. Get out of here.
Man.
Oh,
no.
Lord. So are we in agreement that Ewers will go day 2?
He should.
Okay.
Day 2 or day 3?
Okay.
Yeah. So, like, I thought you were insinuating.
I was about to say, we're saying.
Yeah.
Wait,
I I guess the spot I'm thinking about for me is Miami. I think Miami desperately needs a backup quarterback to have a contingency type of plan for Tua. And they'd be stupid and foolish to not even think about that in this class. There's some guys that are can be prospect that we didn't talk about and we'll get into with the underrated section. But I do think that Ewers, if he's really someone that people aren't really trying to take right away, that's a spot I'm thinking about. Aaron's talking about the Colts. That could be an interesting
Wrong.
take as
They
well.
should have learned their lesson from Sam Ellinger. No Texas.
I remember David getting on that so much for you, yo.
Oh, I know. He was mad at me about that one.
Okay.
But hey.
Yo. Oh,
I was right on that one too.
You were. Johnny, what you thinking?
I'm thinking about places that have traditionally rich history with quarterbacks, because I think we all agree that he's not the best prospect. I think about a place maybe like Kansas City. Nope, absolutely not. Pittsburgh. I think a place like Kansas City. Think about the Rams. I think about no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I mean, Indianapolis just brought in Danny Dimes.
Yeah,
I never said I didn't think Ballard was smart. I mean, I just hoped he could learn, but I guess I was wrong.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just thinking about places like that right there, places that already have established quarterbacks, places somewhere where he can go and he can learn and become a better pro. That's kind of what I'm thinking is some situations like that right there. Yeah. Do I wanna? No. Will I? Yeah. We already.
Oh my gosh!
Will I? No. Probably.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is, bro. It is what it is. Yeah. No, I don't wanna. No.
Since you talked about him, George, where do you think Kyle McCord's going to land in?
McCord. To me, it's a really similar type of situation. And for me, I think all of our 4s and 5s are in very, very situational spots. I'd say the top 3 have a little bit more variability. They all have traits where they can really end up, I don't want to say anywhere, but there are more spots where that are available where you're okay, I could see that working. Whereas with a McCord, I think you need somewhere where actually, I guess not anymore with one of these. For whatever reason, I don't know why. My first thought, I was oh, he looks like he'd look good, like he'd be a Seahawk. He looks like he'd be in Seattle for whatever reason. But with the fact that now they traded away DK, and I don't know where that offense is going, especially now after cutting Ryan Grubb is gone as well. I could see a place like Vegas. I think Vegas would actually be a pretty decent spot behind Geno for a year or two.
Yeah. Okay.
We're not sure where that coaching staff is going.
No, that's true.
For some reason, Indy was actually a thought where I was their O-line is good enough. They've got good receivers who can get downfield. No, New Orleans is to me kind of the weird spot for a lot of this because going forward, New Orleans is absolutely having to go through a rebuild. There is no doubt in my mind that they have to go through a full rebuild. I mean, their cap situation with the money that they gave to aging players is awful. I'll be honest, I don't wish New Orleans on any of these quarterbacks.
Remember when I told y'all last week to leave the Superdome wide ass open and let somebody come in there and take?
Yes. No, we agreed. I'm
now it's even more for wishing right now. Golly, they're a mess, man.
Whoever lands in New Orleans, I kind of feel bad for them. So, funny enough, bringing that up, Nick, you said what's going on with his shoulder? Because, did you guys not hear that Derek Carr might miss the season with a shoulder injury?
No.
Yes.
I heard about his injury, but I didn't know it was going to be.
Yeah.
He might need surgery on it.
Yeah, and then there was also some conversation about the restructuring of the contract or something with his contract.
Could have been. He could just be not happy that they didn't cut him and let him go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. They can't release him now. They can't release him. They just restructured his contract. It's actually impossible. It's cap circumvention to release him at this point. So here's my thing. This is what I've heard. I don't think it's actually a fake injury for Carr. I think it's something that actually happened to him late last season
Yep.
that he was just going to try and rehab normally without surgery. But now that he's not happy with the whole situation with his contract, I'm just going to get the surgery now and just essentially hold out, but do it medically.
Pulling a Scottie Pippen.
Yeah, kind of. Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Pulling Scottie Pippen.
Former Pippen, man.
Joke's on you. Didn't even go. I'm all about the bag. I was working that night.
Oh my gosh. All right. Where do we think Milroe's dropping?
I will already tell you, ideal spot. We talked about it. Baltimore.
That's what I was getting. That's what I was saying, Nick.
Yeah.
I think Baltimore is a good spot. My thing is that weight going to be like tenable? You know what I mean? Because Lamar's locked up long term. He's their long term option. I mean, he still has 4 or 5 years left on his deal.
But the one thing I will say, and I say this all the time about the Ravens, and this is one of the reasons why I hate them so much when it comes draft time. This is why, obviously being a Steelers fan, they take the best player on the board, regardless of position, regardless of need. They take the best player on the board. And
Kyle Hamilton, cough.
Oh
my
God, dude. I've seen that happening. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, you have to be kidding me. You have to be kidding me. Like, this guy. Yeah. Anyways, so I think if it ends up being a slide for Jalen Milroe, I think that absolutely is a team that could be in the market for him, because I think you've seen it before, like with the injuries that happen, or if an injury happens with Lamar Jackson, now you have a player that has a very similar skill set, right? Like, you don't have to change a lot of the offense. They've tried to do that a couple of times with a couple of different players that they bought in via free agency or whatever the case may be. I think that's the ideal landing spot, I think. And then on top of that as well, I think, again, another offense or two that has very similar situations. Yeah, you're right. He does. You ain't lying. Philadelphia, you have Philadelphia. You have Philadelphia and Washington, again, two offenses that give you a little bit of mobility. Right. So those are just a couple places I'm relatively intrigued by with him, depending on if he starts to slide later on in the draft.
So rumors have it that Milroe is being considered between Seattle and the Los Angeles Rams. If it comes down to those two teams, that'd be interesting, because I think McVay would have a very interesting spin for Milroe. They need to plan for Stafford eventually not being there. So that could be a spot. I do like Pittsburgh if they, if Milroe just slides down the board into the late second round. That's a spot where I think Pittsburgh could just nab him up if they don't grab a quarterback before then.
That didn't sound too enthusiastic.
No, because I've already seen this. I've seen this with kids.
I know you have.
Not being able to process. Not being able to process and not being able to get rid of the ball.
Right.
Like that, that was his problem. And in this world, in the league, bro, everybody's 4-4 out there. Everybody's 4-4, everybody's 4-5, right? So you ain't just gonna be able to run away from people like that. Like, you can have some wrinkles and do that.
Need some special speed.
But go ahead though, man. Go ahead.
Not for real. No, I think Milroe is an interesting spot for Pittsburgh. It's a very interesting spot for the Rams. If the Rams end up getting if the Rams end up landing him, that would be very interesting, because I think that would be, from a McVay offense perspective, would give it very different wrinkles than what we have seen in the past with Milroe if it ever got to that point. I'm here. Wait, I went somewhere?
Yeah,
I'm
you
good,
were.
right?
You were.
Now you're back.
Yeah,
now
you're
back. You froze and it just caught up real quick on us.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yo. All right. Anyhow, so if the Rams, I like the Steelers, both of those spots for sure. Obviously not the ideal spot would be Cleveland, but because Cleveland needs a quarterback. But
was that not the most recent mock?
I don't know.
Was them taking him early second round or something like that?
I think so.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah,
something like that. But I think Milroe could be in a definitely enticing spot for sure. Depending on where he lands. Jackson Dart, where do we got him?
To me, this is where the Rams should go.
I think
the Rams is the best fit for. I think this is probably the fit for the Rams. I mean,
okay.
Was it? Yeah, Milroe to Cleveland at 33. I could have sworn I saw. I don't think Dart's a guy you need to trade up for. I think he'll slide well into the
he
20s, which is totally fair. But
Yeah.
I think
Be a trade.
I was going to say, I don't think you need to trade up for him. I don't think anyone in that like a 12 to 21-ish range is really fiending for a quarterback that bad. But you never know. I mean, like truthfully,
The only
really
thing I'll
never
say
know.
to that is if Shedeur Sanders falls after 9. If Shedeur
For sure.
Sanders falls after 9 from the Saints, that's where things could get interesting, and that's where you could start seeing
Trades
teams get
up.
a little froggy.
I don't even
Yeah,
think it's going to be
between
that.
your-
Like I've seen stuff like that. I don't know if you guys seen, but Laquan had tweeted today about Carolina being open for business and Pittsburgh moving up with them. And I could absolutely see
Agree.
that because like you can't
Same.
if that is one of the guys, like you can't risk it with that. So like I don't
risk it for the biscuit.
You can't risk waiting for New Orleans not to take Shedeur. Because now if you take him, then now it's like, okay, if you really want him, now
we
you
saw it last year. We saw it last year.
Yeah, you have to give up. Yeah, right. Like
True.
you have to give up the farm to go get him, man. So like I think that's a place, but I want them to keep George Pickens and DK Metcalf together for 1 year just to see what we got. That's it.
Yeah, my thing with Dart is I think one, especially for the landing spot with a coach like McVay, with Stafford getting towards the tail end, and the pick's at 26. Like, I think that's really good value for a guy like Jackson Dart. I don't think you would need to trade up for him. I mean, unless Pittsburgh just takes him at 21. Yeah. He should be there at 21, which I wouldn't hate that fit either. I mean, Arthur Smith, a lot of play action that they can work off of. I mean, I think he's got the toughness to play in that division, which we all know you have to have. I mean, truthfully, you have to be a tough guy to play in that division. Full stop, period. The elements he's played in the elements, he plays at an outdoor stadium. It gets plenty cold down here. Maybe not snow, but
I was about to say.
There's only one start in this class and a bunch of fields, and don't disrespect some of these guys. Don't call him Kenny Pickett.
Don't. Hated that from the jump.
Don't be disrespectful.
You just never know. So you can't call it. It's way too early to be calling it like that. So
absolutely.
Way too early.
Other than those, I mean, some of the teams that I'm just in that middle range, maybe not specifically for Dart, but I'm really curious about. I'm curious about Jacksonville with their new coach and Liam Cohen. I'm curious about Tampa. What is their future post Baker? I'm curious about Arizona. Arizona has a lot of needs and a lot of capital. I'm really curious about what the Cardinals do this draft.
I got one. The San Francisco 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers with the Brock Purdy situation. That is a place that like I would say absolutely keep an eye on that situation there. Like, because I think all those other places, like you mentioned, are very relevant. Like what does life look like after some of these situations? But San Francisco's in a right now situation. They're in a right now situation. Yeah. So maybe they trade down. Maybe that's a well, it wouldn't be a trade partner with Pittsburgh, but like maybe that's a place where they trade down, get some picks, and boom, there you go. Like they're able to get their guy for the future. So I
think the Niners would be an interesting situation when we talk about third round and on. They have a few more, much more draft capital round 3 and on. So that'll be interesting from a Niners perspective. I think Jackson Dart, I hate to say these two teams again, but it will depend on what happens between the Rams and the Steelers. I do think that the Steelers kind of hold where they want to go in this draft when it comes to quarterback. If they want to sit and wait for their guy, if they want to drop back, you know what I'm saying, or wait until later on to draft to get their guy, they could do that as well. So that's where your team, John, Pittsburgh, like they kind of hold a lot of like mysterious things for this draft and what they want to do, and what kind of quarterback they really want to see moving forward. So that's where, like, again, if people are really, transitioning to Shedeur Sanders, like if he starts falling down the board, like I said last year, like we had the opposite happen where Atlanta just went and got their guy, and they're like, whoa,
there was a run on guys,
And then there was like a trade up for this person, that person. That is what could happen with New Orleans at number 9 potentially. And it's interesting. I think Shedeur ends up with the Saints at 9. But but again, falls down after the Saints, there will be some calls. happening.
I think
and that's where we can see the trade up.
I think with Shador, I think I'm gonna go here.
I agree with that.
I think one of the things like you're gonna see is Prime is going to interject. He's not going to let his son go to a shitty situation. In New Orleans it's a bad situation. And if he has to interject, like he will interject. And I think
he said he likes him. With the latest article, he said he wouldn't mind him in New Orleans.
Prime's been doing this for a long time. Yeah, he's been doing it for a long time, right? Like, and maybe
he likes the Colorado colors.
Yeah, maybe. But I feel like that's smoke screen. I feel like it's smoke screen, and I feel like because again, to your point, like those are the two teams. Like those are the two teams that are really in the market for quarterback. When you look at it, maybe you could throw Indianapolis in there if they wanted to go absolutely off the board, which I think at this point, nothing.
Same thing with Arizona, though.
Yeah, nothing is off limits right now from what we've seen last year. But I will say, to the point of Dart and Shador Sanders and even Jalen Milroe to a certain extent, one of the more underrated aspects of what Pittsburgh is doing is their offensive line. And their offensive line is very young, and they're going to be very good. And they're going to be able to build together. So I think quarterback is absolutely the play. And if it is Jackson Dart at 21 or later, I'm totally okay with that because they've already got their bridge guy in Mace, like we talked about. But yeah, I'm hoping, again, Shador Sanders to Pittsburgh. Can't say it enough. Just got to keep putting it out there in the atmosphere.
I get it. George, where do you see fit for Sanders if he doesn't go to the Saints?
If he doesn't go to the Saints, which I think I'll say this, with the rest of the talent that's also available in the top 10, I would not trade up into the top 10 to jump New Orleans. Like if I have to trade up to 7 or 6 to try and get Sanders, unless this is the last ditched effort to get a quarterback, I don't know that I do that because there's so much like just raw and just good talent at the top of this class at a ton of different positions. I don't know that I'm giving up that much capital to jump that far up into the top 10. If you can swing a trade at 9 because New Orleans wants to recoup a bunch of draft picks so that they can build out a younger roster, sure. Yeah. That's fine to me. Beyond that or above that, I think you probably end up missing out on some really, really good players in this year's class. So if not New Orleans, I think Pittsburgh's kind of like the natural fit. Like that just makes sense to me. I don't see many other teams that in that middle of the pack that would really go that far to take a quarterback that high. Because even beyond the top 10, this is a pretty deep class defensively. I mean, there's a lot of really good defensive players in this year's class that I don't want to say are can't miss, but are pretty close to day one plug and play playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah.
No, yeah.
I think Pittsburgh just makes sense.
I agree with that philosophy though in this type of draft process where it's like you got so many guys that can fill in other positions where a quarterback, if it's really a need, then you don't have to give up all this capital to trade up. I'm definitely in agreement with that. That's why it depends on, like you were talking about, John, when it comes to smoke screens. It's like, is that legit in terms of what, Dion was talking about? Or is it more like, well, I want him in a different place, but I'll just play nice with the PR perspective. So that's where, again, this time of the season becomes very tricky, depending on where landing spots go and how things are going to play out. Because, again, one team can be thinking one thing and could stick with that the entire time. But then something changes in the draft where they're like, oh, well, we had this guy higher up on our board, so we're going to take him here anyway. It don't matter. Or it's like, well, this guy's falling down the board, and we have him very high on our board. We need to go get him and trade up whatever, capital we need to go get him because we view him that highly. So it's a lot of different schools of thought going on, definitely this time of the year. Are there any hidden gems in this NFL draft class? We'll start with you, George.
So hidden gem is kind of a tough way to put it because I think that a lot of guys are getting kind of, I don't want to say pigeonholed necessarily into like certain places where they're going to land, or like certain places where they're going to get drafted in terms of the actual class. If you're asking me, I think to me, like one of the most underrated players in this year's class, and honestly, just one of my favorites is one that you talked about, Nick. I love Will Howard's game. Like the biggest thing for me with Will Howard, and this is a phrase that I use for it, this is a hockey phrase, this is a basketball phrase. To me, Will Howard's a 16 game player. If you need to go out there and get your 16 wins, you got to get those 4-4 series. Will Howard's the type of guy who's going to get there. He's a gamer. He is big game player. You get him into that tough, tight spot, he's going to be the one to execute. He's got the good arm talent. And look, last season, for all the talk about, oh man, he's got this stacked roster around him. And he does. Like, you know, he had the most expensive roster in college football around him. Full stop. That's just true. But he made the biggest throws when the games mattered the most. And I think that's something that you can't really take for granted. And the other thing with him is he can play in an NFL offense. He showed it last season. Chip Kelly was their offensive coordinator. That's a guy who had a long NFL career as a coach before going back to college. If there's any other hidden gem that I think could actually end up being a pretty solid backup, going back to the old well down the street, especially after, you know, I think his stock's rising just a little bit. And this is, again, like this is a potential loyalty pick. This is a for teams, not necessarily for me. But the guy who comes to mind for a hidden gem is maybe even a guy like Seth Hennigan out of Memphis. I mean, he's an accurate quarterback, doesn't have the biggest arm. You want to talk about a guy who's sneaky athletic, real lunch pail guy. Like that's kind of what you're getting. And in an era of college football that, and this is what I mean when I say like a loyalty type pick, in an era of college football that he played in where guys are just moving all over the place. That's a 4-year starter at Memphis. All 4 seasons from a freshman year to a senior year, a full-time starter since his freshman year, 4-year starter, has a ton of experience like under his belt, has seen it all, has seen his conference change, has seen college football change. And from what I'm seeing, I mean, he's projected as an undrafted free agent. If that's a kind of guy that you can get into your locker room for just money and no other capital, you can't beat that, really.
I hear that. Making good points. Johnny?
Well, I'm going to bite off of George because Kyle McCord was somebody that wasn't in my top 5, but he was somebody that like seeing him, seeing someone who was picking up steam, right? And being able to get to, you know, college football 4:30 p.m. or after Eastern time, like seeing him, and I've actually got a buddy that's a Syracuse fan.
Nice.
So it's kind of funny that obviously you were talking about him, but seeing like, you know, him cracking some of the 30 visits, seeing like him meeting with the Steelers, seeing him meeting with the Giants, and seeing like what he's done. Like, again, all about, in my opinion, with quarterbacks, it's all about the situation. And I think we've knocked that home tonight. I think your analysis on him was really, really great as far as like what he brings to the table, what his game is. But he's absolutely a guy that I think, you know, there's not a lot of need at the quarterback position for a lot of teams, but the teams that we were just recently talking about that have some of these guys who are a little bit older, like the Rams, like that would be a really, really solid spot for him there, right? I think even, and I know like obviously the Denver Broncos, obviously they have Bo Nix, but like I think about like a guy like Sean Payton, right? Getting with a guy like right there who offensively like brings it and gets the best and the most out of quarterbacks. I think about, you know, I even think about my guy, man. I hadn't shouted him out in a long time. My man, KOC. KOC, baby. You know what I mean? Was on it from the jump, man, right? Like I think about like those type of situations, but you know, if he lands there, it definitely could be a thing, or maybe even to the point we're talking about, like if Cleveland does something different at number 2 and they don't take a quarterback, like maybe this is a situation where like they go like in the 2nd or 3rd round. Who knows, man? But yeah, like that would be my hidden gem, if you will, for the QBs.
I guess. Call me an Oregon Duck fan.
I was about to say, I felt it.
Dylan Gabriel.
I knew it.
Dylan Gabriel. He just reminds me of Russ Wilson. but it could also just be just a really systematic guy that
How
would
old
just,
is he?
He is old.
That's I was about to say. I was looking at him like,
He
why do
is
I feel
old,
like
by the
he's been
way.
in college football for a long time?
Forever.
You don't feel. You
No,
are
he's
right,
20,
brother.
he's 24.
Okay, that's not as
like,
bad as I thought. I thought he was,
26. He's been in college football forever for sure. I know everything is pointing to like, his lack of sizes and measurables and stuff like that. But people said that about Russell Wilson in the same class coming out of NC State. I think what Gabriel brings best is that I think he's pro style offense. He's shown that he can be showcased as a guy to win ball games in crucial situations. Like, there's just sometimes players that you look at, they don't always pass the measurables and stuff like that. When you look at game tape and you look at, okay, this guy, we can bring him into our QB fold. He's going to be a sponge. He's going to have great awareness inside the pocket. Like, he's going to have a nice deep field focus. Like, he's going to throw through tight windows. Like, Dylan Gabriel reminds me of all those things. And the thing that I get excited about most with him is that it's more about, again, that the progression of him getting better at the position consistently via mechanics versus and making up for those measurables. So again, do I see a little Russell Wilson in him? Absolutely. So that's something where, again, pure value. You know what I'm saying? He's not going to go and he's going to be a late day 2 pick, dare I say day 3 pick. And he'll have an opportunity potentially, just sit for a year in the NFL, learn, and then we'll see what happens after that. I think too many times, like I said, we look at the measurables too much. And I think this could be one of those classic situations where we look at the measurables too much. We don't look at enough of the tape. People were talking about CJ Stroud a couple of years ago. You know what I'm saying? He had the measurables and everything, but then people were talking about the testing. And it's like, how do you look at the testing? You look at the damn tape. You look at CJ Stroud just shredding people. Like, come on. So that's how I kind of see fit when it comes to that. Anyone else, guys? Anyone else in terms of hidden gems?
He's gonna drop one. I feel it.
I got one. I got one from a project perspective.
You better not say Curtis Rourke. I don't want to hear it.
Nah.
Oh, thank God.
No, it might be someone else that you're not even thinking about.
I might not be.
Might not be. Donovan Smith, Houston Cougars.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Yeah.
I like that.
Look, 6'5", has the size, has some really great athleticism. The knock on him obviously is that he he didn't have the best year coming out this year, but I will say that I think he deserves a mention in terms of, again, definitely a day 2, day 3 like prospect. But again, dual threat capabilities, a guy that has the arm talent. The thing that I think that I saw most was that consistency is it's there and here and there, and sometimes he's a slower processor than some other guys in this class. But I do think that lands in the right situation, like we keep on talking about tonight, the running theme. He could be a guy that potentially gets his shot at starting at the NFL.
I'm surprised he's coming out this year, if I'm being honest. Like, I think he still has eligibility as a redshirt, but I could be wrong on that.
That would be
like his first year, he didn't really play much at all. But if he put his name into the draft already, then his eligibility is void.
Yeah,
football does that.
Football does that. Yeah.
If you guys want like the most ridiculous deep cut, not even to say that I think he'll be a good quarterback. I just love the story because I've seen him like in person. KJ Jefferson out of UCF.
That's someone I also thought about.
Genuinely. So I can't
former LSU guy,
former Arkansas guy.
Sorry. Arkansas guy.
I say that specifically because it was year before last. I saw him in person. No? Did he go to LSU first? He played at UCF last year. He might have.
I think it was LSU.
Was it LSU then Arkansas then UCF?
Yeah.
I know he played at LSU.
I know.
Oh, then he went from SEC to SEC to UCF.
Central USA.
if if that tells you anything, where he's like, "Yeah, I gotta go to Central Florida
Right,
to really
bag.
get some game time." But
No, actually, I looked it up here, guys. We were wrong. It was Arkansas. He was
Was it Arkansas?
Yeah,
only?
3-time
Okay.
captain at Arkansas. For some reason,
Wow.
for
For some
some
reason,
time,
I thought it was LSU too.
I did think it was LSU too for some reason,
I
but
don't
no,
know.
it was definitely Arkansas.
My thing with him is that, like, because I've been like up close to him, like seen him in person. One of the biggest humans I have ever seen in my life. Like, genuinely, I'm like, that guy's the quarterback. Him? Ain't no way. That guy should be hitting people. There is no, because he's a great athlete. He can run. Like, he's got a huge arm. There's some other guys in the class that, like, I think are interesting, like DJ Youngalele, who's there with Florida State. He kind of ruined his tape when he went to. He was awful at Oregon State, and he was really bad last year.
Yep.
One that's also interesting, which I hate to give him any kind of real props, but that's just because of the school he went to before Washington, is Will Rogers. But I can at least give him the fact that
now we're going deep down the rabbit hole.
I mean, his numbers at Mississippi State were awesome when that team was not awesome. But he's a true West Coast offense type guy. Can process well. Short intermediate game is really good, but he wasn't very good with Washington this year.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
John, anything else to add before we move on?
No, man.
Right.
I'll let y'all go ahead with y'all practice squad QB.
Hey.
I know, right? I hear that. Hey, that's fine.
Hey, don't make me dig out Peyton Thorne on you. Don't
Please
make
don't.
me do
Please
that.
don't.
Hey.
Please don't do it. Now.
All right, George. Got a mic here real quick.
Fair enough. I can accept that punishment. I can accept it.
How many QBs go in the first round, John? How many QBs go in the first round, you think?
I'm gonna go with 3.
Yeah.
I think that's a safe pick.
I think we're all in agreement on that one.
I think that's a safe pick.
I think it's 3.
Yeah.
So, all right. I guess the burning question is there a 4th that can go in the first round? Is there a 4th? Is there a 4th? Because let's talk about landing spots, right? Saints, Steelers, and then who would be the 3rd spot in this overall?
I think Rams probably.
The Rams. Yeah, the Rams are definitely in
especially after just having to spend all that money on an extension for Stafford.
Yeah.
Especially at his age as well.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah. Look, I don't know if Miami would spend a 1st round pick on a QB for a backup. That'd be crazy. But that'd be crazy.
I'll say this here's my other thing now with Miami specifically. After announcing the whole thing with Jalen Ramsey, they need DB help and they need it back. And they cut Holland. They need help on the back end real bad.
Actually, I will say if there's a 4th team that jumps in, give me the New York Giants.
Yeah, because that's
give me the Giants, give me the Browns, depending on what happens.
But that would still make no sense to me, though. That would still make no sense.
You're gonna draft a guy. I don't see it.
Not them trade. No. Them getting back into the first round.
That's
back into the first round. Not up top, but them getting back into the first.
Hey,
round.
we know Joe Shane is stupid, so come on now.
There we go.
Yeah, I'm about to say
but if there's a slide that happens, if there's a slide that happens with any of those guys, I wouldn't be shocked to see any of those teams try to get back in.
Yeah, that I can see. I can totally see that. But yeah,
Where does Miami pick 13? Yeah, there's going to be
Miami
a DB
picks
available.
13.
Yeah. I could totally. I don't know why. I can already envision it. I could see like a
guy from Michigan, the DB from Michigan,
Will Johnson.
Yes.
We think. My thing is he might go higher. He's a stud.
Higher.
I like him a lot.
Yeah,
I don't know why. I could totally. I can already envision it. I don't know why, but I see Malachi Starks in Miami jersey.
That's where people are debating about the Miami.
I could totally see Starks there. Even the I can never pronounce his last name. The safety there from South Carolina.
He's projected to go to the Philadelphia Eagles. Starks is.
Shocker. Oh, I'm so surprised. them picking another Bulldog.
Jeez, man.
No,
Why can't Pittsburgh do it the way that they do and pick the right SEC guys? They pick the wrong guys. Like, jeez,
They picked the wrong guys.
They picked the wrong guys,
Oh.
man.
Look at that.
Yeah, we thought we could actually.
Oh my god!
Wow.
Yeah, this guy right here.
You didn't tell him we're on tonight?
Listen, man. Listen, I got Easter with this guy coming up this weekend. I can't.
I'm sure you do.
Oh man, listen, he's gonna be talking about Jalen Milroe.
He's gonna talk about me and how I'm the best.
He's gonna be hitting me with the Shedeur Sanders the entire time, man. Love that guy, man. Thanks for the support, big bro.
For sure. Oh man, but yeah, the third team is going to be something that definitely seems watching, but it could be the Rams at this point. But again, yeah, the Giants could trade up back into this. Who knows?
Yeah, I think don't they pick like 34 or something like that? They have that high second.
Yeah, I had it somewhere in some of my notes. But yeah, I think they have 2 2 second round picks, I believe. 30 something and 50 something.
I can find this. They've got you were right. They've got 2/3. They've got the first pick in the third round and then the 35th in the third round.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, totally that could happen.
I can see that happening.
But yeah, I mean, I don't see a fourth team. A fourth team would really be a stretch. It'd really be a stretch for a fourth team.
Yeah. I mean, especially with some of these teams that were like Cleveland just needs so much help. I mean, everywhere, honestly.
So much help.
Even the Giants to that end, like they could certainly work on their defense even more. And there are still, to me, so many guys in this class that even into like later into the first and early second that I might take over some of these other quarterbacks. Like we've got guys that are like ranked in the 30s that I'm like, that guy could start today, I don't know. This will be an interesting one, I think.
Definitely. But yeah, I would probably just say 3 just to be like, all right, like 3.
I think 3 is probably our safest.
Yeah.
Safest spot for it. Yeah.
Definitely. All right. You know what time it is?
Do I?
You know what time it is? Who is your guy in this class? Who is your guy? Who is like your not? So this section should not be like so obvious. Topic QB, but who is like your guy that is not so obvious? You want to see him do well, but it's not Cam Ward. It's not Shedeur Sanders.
No.
I don't even have to answer.
No.
Well, you
look
can't
at the cup.
say
Look at the cup I'm drinking out of. Come on, bro. Look.
Nope. Can't say Jackson
drinking
Dart.
it.
He's
Yes, I
excluded from
can.
your list. We can say Jackson Dart, but you can't. Johnny, kick us off on this question.
Disrespectful.
I will actually say Jackson Dart. I will say because Shedeur would be the guy for me.
Yeah, like
Shedeur would be the guy for me. But Jackson Dart, like I definitely wouldn't mind seeing him do well. I do have a little bit of a grudge against Lane Kiffin, just about that much, just for him leaving Tennessee high and dry. But otherwise than that, man, like Jackson Dart's a guy that he just looks like a quarterback, and he carries it the way that like I would want my quarterback to carry it, and plays the way that I would want him to play. That's really it, man. Like, 'cause outside of that, like not saying Shedeur, it's Jackson Dart. I hate Alabama, so I don't want Jalen Milroe to absolutely blow it off.
Bump.
And yeah, I don't like, you know what I mean? Like I don't. So yeah, I guess give me Jackson Dart for 500, Nick.
All right. Nice. So I'll say not obvious is Shedeur Sanders. That's the obvious. The not obvious one.
Okay.
But is obvious is Dylan Gabriel. I want to see him get drafted and land in a decent spot.
Quack.
Quack.
There we go.
Quack.
Since I'm not allowed to give my obvious one, I'm going to go with Will Howard. I think through a bit of this process, he's been kind of given the short end of the stick. I mean, we did just watch the man carve up how many of the best teams in college football this past season, and that's after putting together really good tape at Kansas State. I don't even know. Like, do they count as a football school, basketball school? Like, are they? What are they? They're just
back in the-
I was about to
back in
say
that
about
era.
They're
Back
just
in that
they're
era,
just a
you
school,
know,
man.
about
They're a school.
once every
Era.
10 years or so they'll do something.
Kansas State
you know.
was back in my era. Kansas State was was a football school.
Okay.
Now I don't know. I have no idea now. I really don't.
I was about to say, no, the one that we're all like, man, I remember they were so good and they just are nowhere now. What happened to Northwestern, bro?
Ooh, yeah. Oh my God.
Fell off
What's
the
his name?
cliff.
What Darnell was it? Darnell
Fell off
Archer?
the cliff.
Was that his name? Darnell Archer, the running back. This was like 100 moons ago. Darnell, I think that was him. And I feel like the Bears might have drafted him or something. Like that's 100 moons ago.
Man, there was a time there where they were really good for a minute.
Yeah, they were.
I think it wasn't it their coach that something happened with?
Oh my God, I can't even remember, man. I just remember they were good and like they were one of those teams that like oh, they're getting screwed by the BCS and et cetera.
Pat Fitzgerald. It was Pat Fitzgerald who was there, and they were just like that tough Midwestern, just grinded out team. You're like, man, I really don't want to have to go play them. And oh, that's what it was. I forget. Never mind. We're not allowed to talk about them anymore. Allegations. Let's just
leave it at that.
Allegations.
Yeah. Let's put a pin in that one. No more talk about Northwestern.
All right then.
What a way to end it.
What a way to end the show, right?
Right.
What a way to end the show. Final thoughts for everybody here. George?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, whoa. We're not posting that one.
Yeah. Let's don't even qualify it. Does not exist.
Love it.
You know what? Since he loves it, okay.
Oh my God.
I don't have those powers, but bring down the hammer. Final thoughts. I honestly, I think this quarterback class is
not anyone's bottom. Blah blah blah.
This year's quarterback class. I think. What is this?
Damn.
Mm.
Damn.
I'll let you handle that when it's your final thoughts.
Listen, man. My brother probably could have been an offensive lineman. I can't do nothing with that, man. I can't do nothing with that. All I got to do is it'd be like KD trying to get past that lineman in the basketball gym is what it would look like.
Final thoughts from me. I think that a lot of this draft is going to end up hinging on where these quarterbacks end up going. It could end up having some other really good talent fall to teams that probably wouldn't have gotten them otherwise. I don't know. Beyond the top three, I don't have a ton of faith in a lot of these guys. But, hey, that's what makes the draft to see where guys end up going. But real talk, I want to thank you guys for having me on these last couple weeks. It's been a ton of fun. I've loved every single second of coming on here and hanging out with you guys.
Well, you know what?
We appreciate that for sure, bro.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you too, man. For sure. It's definitely been fun, and like you're very knowledgeable about the college game for sure, man. And one thing about it, two things for certain, man. It's Memphis Grizzlies fans, man. We got to stick together, man. You know.
Oh, brother, don't
even.
Yeah.
Not
right now. Not right now.
No, listen, man. I'm not. I don't want to get you going, but like, I'm on the East Coast, man. So the game tips off at 10:10, and I got to be at work. So I told Diane, I'm like, all right, like no matter what, like I'm going to stay up and I'm going to at least like watch like as much as I can. Well, like I'm working on this stuff here.
Yeah.
And I look up, man. And I see John like first 2-3 minutes. I'm like, let's go. And then the next thing I know, man, I look up and I'm like, what the fuck?
Why are we down by 20?
I was about to say we were down by 15. And I was like, that's it. I was like, I'm going to bed. I was like, I'm shutting it off. And then I woke up this morning and I'm like, oh my God, like they came back. And then I'm like, Then they came back and lost. I was like, oh my God, man. Yeah. So anyways, I don't, that's, yeah.
You'll never guess who hit the most clutch shots in the entire game.
Like, yeah,
Little head
no,
ass.
yeah, I know. My final thoughts, man, just football related. Obviously, I'm gonna keep saying it. I'm gonna keep projecting it into the atmosphere. Shedeur Sanders to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Make it happen. Let's get back on track. Like, let's get a guy that can help us win football games and is not a liability at the quarterback position, and we can utilize the weapons that we got out here. Talked about the offensive line and what we're doing. Man, this is one of the drafts that I don't think I've been this excited for a draft in a long time, just because of the quarterback situation. When Kenny Pickett was in that draft class, he was somebody that I was not a fan of because I didn't really know what he actually did well other than stay in college for 5 years. And here we are with Shedeur Sanders. So that's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm looking forward to. I think me and Nick are going to try to cook up something next week, maybe a little mock draft-ish stuff as well. So, maybe we can just go ahead and extend that invite, maybe an additional week to you, bro, for some kind of a mock situation here for us. That's what I got, man.
Well, that's all I got, folks. I mean, that's all I got, folks. No, George, we always appreciate you for sure. I always appreciate you. And we'll have a mock draft next week, folks. And George, you'll be here. You're already here.
Well, hell.
Yep.
I will have to check the calendar. I will say that much. But
it's
should
pending,
be good.
pending.
Pending.
But that being said, folks, appreciate you guys being here. We love the support. Continue to follow us. Continue to showcase our stuff. And after the draft process, we'll probably be still filling in here and there. But as best ball season, join us on Spaces because we'll have some Spaces on X coming up. It's gonna be a fun time. So definitely being said, look forward to seeing you on the next show. Happy Easter to everybody out there. We'll see you guys in the next show. Peace.